All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Let me adjust this a little bit like that. I see Sheed and Toya the Tutor were in here early. I originally set this for 10:15, and I was working on some other things, and I had to push it back, and I wasn't even sure that I was going to do this stream this morning. It just kind of it's one of those streams that organically started formulating in my mind, and I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll squeeze in one more stream before October is over. Guys, you know the super chat is live. My Cash App and PayPal are below this video. This is going to be a quick one. I think it's going to be a quick one because I want to get out. The Buffalo Bills are playing today. I'm going to go to a game watch. Hopefully they do better than the Michigan Wolverines did yesterday. But this is going to be a short stream. Let me pull something else up here on my in my Google Chrome. I hope everyone's having a good Sunday so far. Grogu, Mr. Meech, Aquateki, what's going on, guys? I hope I say something in this short. You guys saw the title, so I'm sure something in there intrigued you to come over, and I hope I say something that makes it worth your while. This is going to be short. First thing, guys, I'm very close to starting a well, branding. I gotta remember branding. You guys know who I am. Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. This is my original Big Discussions 76 channel. There are 4 channels. If anyone ever wants to contact me, you can use that email address there. I have a Facebook page, Twitter handle, an Instagram handle, and right there at the top, that's my first blogging platform. And what's happening? One of the things I'm working on a bunch of different things right now. I have a book project that I'm trying to push through to completion. I have 2 blogging platforms. One is my original platform, and I have a new writer's blog that I'm using to, at least in the interim, present my book to the world. And I have 4 YouTube channels. Okay. And I don't know if any of you guys know anything about search engine optimization in Google. A lot of people think Google is evil, but Google FeedBurner. I'm putting on my blogger's hat now. Something called Google FeedBurner. They took away the subscription feature. So if you have a blog, if you had a blog 4 years ago, you could use the subscribe code and put that on your blog, and people could put their information in, and they'd get stuff as you publish it. Well, Google took that feature away, and I'm not sure how I'm going to measure my analytics right now. But they took that feature away. So now the question is, if people want to keep up with me and everything I generate, how do you do it? So there's a feature in my GoDaddy web host account that's been laying dormant for about 4 to 5 years. It's an email newsletter. So I'm in the process right now of setting up my email newsletter, which right now I envision me sending out once a month. Shout out to Erica Williams. I think some of you all know who Erica Williams is. That feature was sitting in my web hosting GoDaddy account. It was sitting there for the last 4 to 5 years, just kind of reminding me that you should use this. And I was thinking, okay, why would I use a newsletter? Well, my brother was watching Erica Williams one night, and she said, many of you all are sleeping on having a newsletter, because if your channel goes down, how will people find you? How will people know where you are? So she said, you need to set up a newsletter so people can get updates on who you are and what you're doing. So Erica's words were always in my mind. And also with Google taking that feature away, and with me having like 6 platforms, I think having a newsletter would be a nice way to consolidate everything and to update my audience on what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you that in a second. And you know, my original blogging platform, I was able to turn that into a business. I'll talk about that in upcoming streams. But I'm getting so much content from my customer, my main customer, I can't keep track of it. And so with what I'll do with the newsletter is I will pick out specific pieces that I think are relevant for the audience. I've been starting to do that on my community chat, on my YouTube channels, but that's what I'm going to use the newsletter for. So I'm going to give you guys a preview of it. I was just tinkering with it before I started the stream. And then I'm going to get to the title of this stream, because I know that's why some of you are here. As I know that's why most of you are here. So give me a second. I left it in the comment section below, but I don't see a field here for putting your email address in if you're interested. So I'm still figuring out how this thing works, but this is a preview of my newsletter, the Big Words LLC Newsletter. Yeah, so it reads, hello all, I hope this finds you well. I've decided to start experimenting with a monthly newsletter. With working on a book project, having 2 blogs and multiple YouTube channels, I think this will be a good way to strategically consolidate and standardize my messaging for those of you who are interested in me as a content creator. This tool has been sitting here for over a year, and I haven't used it yet. Right now, I envision sending this newsletter out monthly, highlighting specific writings, videos, and updates from my book project, The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. Please join me on this new leg of my journey. So once that's up and ready to go, you'll see an announcement on my community tab, and also I'll verbally announce it in my streams. Guys, thank you for being here. Whoever's here, if you want to, the super chat is live. I haven't gotten into the subject yet, but the super chat is live. If you want to make a donation, that information is below my stream as well. If you're watching on the playback. So just really quickly, my book project, I've shown this to some of you guys. I've been scrambling around this morning, so I don't know if I put this below the stream, but this is it. The engineer, no, that's the website. This is it. The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. I saw Raheem Gaines in the chat there. I think he and his brother have this is a story about my basketball journey in high school. Obviously, I didn't end up in the NBA or anything, but it taught me a lot about life and how to be successful going forward, and even into my science career. And those are valuable experiences if you get to compete in a sport at an early age. So that's what the story's about, and learning how to deal with life and deal with life's adversities. So that's just a quick plug there. I'll leave this in the chat if anyone wants to take a look at it, and I'll probably leave it in the description box of the playback of this video. So newsletter, book project, and I think I'll just go ahead and jump into why I wanted to do this stream, and what the motivation for the stream was. I'm gonna get this done quickly, and then go out to watch the Bills versus the Dolphins. Go Bills, Bills Mafia. Let me minimize this. Okay, guys, this stream is going to be more of a ramble / more of a confessional, and just more just a thought of the day / thought of the week, and a discussion about what's going on now. Because that's what writers do. That's what storytellers do. You tell stories, you talk about what's going on, and you put it out there, and then it's for your audience to react to. And it's just to get people to think. And one of my pillars for this channel and for my life is just to get people to think. If you're new coming in, please hit the like. So this stream is entitled Reflections on Going Dutch and Changes in Societal Norms. So guys, I had a family get together last week in Atlanta. Some people call it Hotlanta. I think the angry man calls it Straglanta. Some people call it Wakanda. So we had a family gathering last week in Atlanta. And, getting together with family sometimes is tricky, especially when there are new people. Things come up, uncomfortable conversations come up. And just by nature of the beast, uncomfortable conversations come up. And, one of the things I was thinking about, my mother was there, my auntie Adele was there, and this channel is a quasi manosphere space. I see Sheet in the chat right there. I've had to rethink my messaging here, and what I want it to be. I've wanted it to be more about building and more about money and those kinds of things, and you will see more of those, but also just general topics and discussions about society and what's happening today. And when you gather with family, when you have the multiple generations together, what happens is the older generations look at the younger generations and they kind of wonder, why haven't you reached this milestone yet? Why haven't you reached that milestone yet? When we were your age, we had this thing done at this time, and why don't you have these things done? Why are you still single? Why are you still here in this particular station? So you have those things when the generations get together. You have, in my case, the older females in your family look at you and say stuff like, well, I know that where you live, the women are beating down your door. Okay, I thought about that after last week's visit, and I realized, okay, the women in my family, they see me differently than many of the women in my peer group and in my cohort. So in other words, they don't know what's going on out here in the world, and they don't know what's going on out here in these streets. They just don't know. My mother, her sisters, those people, they just don't know. So they assume that your life should be just like theirs. Your life should unfold just like theirs. But that's not necessarily the case. It doesn't go that way. Society has changed. Culture has changed. Societal norms have changed. Hell, even the things you see in pop culture have changed. If you look at television, just television, you see things on television now that you would never have seen 20 to 30 years ago, in terms of sex, in terms of gender, in terms of just what's considered normal. So everything has changed. Everything's changed. So you have to be careful when you're getting together with your family, because they have a perception of what your life should be and how it should have turned out versus what actually is and what you've what you actually experienced out in your own journey. I'm going to take a bite of my oatmeal here. Just Being the Jazzy podcast Welcome. I've never seen you before. Thank you for stopping through. I don't know if Roger or anyone else shared this, but thank you for stopping through. Thank you to Toya. Thank you to Akwaseki. Thank you to Raheem Gaines. Thank you to Abdul Gaines. Let me see what he has to say. Okay, the older generation of women want the younger generation of men to be traditional. My mom's of the silent generation, and she's absolutely clueless about the evolving times and male-female relationships. So going forward on my channel, I'm going to try to be give comment when I weigh in on these things. When I weigh in on these things, I'm going to try to give a balanced commentary on what's happening, and without demonizing or slandering anyone. But my notes here. A couple of I saw a couple things in the last week after my family visit that really just kind of jogged my memory and just really pinched me. One was the Roger report. Shout out to Roger. Roger had a stream on Friday, and it was something about boys being shoved out into the world at 18, and being expected to know what to do. There was another panelist who jumps on sometimes and has very strong opinions, named Silent Lamont, and he was going on and on about how in other ethnic groups it's normal for men and women to share bills. And it seems like right now, if you're following the high value man concept, and if you're following that whole discussion, there's a lot of emphasis being put on men covering everything, even when a woman of interest has her own career. There's still a high premium on a man being able to cover everything and provide everything. So that kind of stood out to me. I was watching Richard Cooper. I guess that would be considered over in the white manosphere. There are multiple communities and spheres on YouTube, and Richard Cooper hangs out with Rollo Tomasi and Aaron Clary and those guys, if you're unfamiliar with them. And Richard has a podcast. I think it's called Pursuing Excellence. It's a really good podcast if you haven't watched it. But he had on Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they were talking about basically pursuing excellence and being your best self. They were talking about hypergamy. They were talking about not worrying so much about what women want, but instead just being your best self and just achieving your best as a man and letting everything else fall into place. Friday night, Jason Black. I know Jason Black is in some ways considered an enemy of the Black manosphere, though he is Black. He's in a constant war with Kitten Heels. Well, he calls him Kitten Heels, the image guy, Kevin Samuels. He's always, attacking Kevin and Kevin's messaging and Jason. But I listen because I think Jason says some valuable things. If you're new coming in, please hit the like. But Jason created a live stream basically getting on the men and saying, you got to get your weight up. That's one of Jason's terms, is you got to get your weight up. You got to get to a point where you can provide everything. You got to get to a point where paying for dinner is not a big deal. You should expect to pay for dinner. And I think Kevin has said that too. But I'm saying this to say that all these things kind of coalesced and kind of rolled around in my mind, and that's where the stream came from. So let's talk about going Dutch. Why that term? Well, I mentioned my mother and my auntie Adele, and I think early on when I started dating as a teen and into my 20s and as a broke student, they introduced that term to me. And I believe that in recent years, they're baby boomers, so they're in their 60s and beyond right now. They I think I've recently heard them talk about going Dutch. And so what is that term and what does that mean? So I'm going to use my screen share really quickly, and we're going to talk about what going Dutch is, and what that means. I'm going to go to this dictionary right here. Actually, there was another definition I found last night. Well, I'll just do Wikipedia for this one, even though Wikipedia is not considered a reliable source. And there's no judgment in this stream. I'm not looking to attack anyone. We're just talking about information here. And as a storyteller, I'm just telling stories. Okay. So this is Wikipedia. And believe it or not, you can find some reliable information on Wikipedia. So this reads, going Dutch is a term that indicates that each person participating in a paid activity covers their own expenses rather than any one person in the group defraying the cost for the entire group. The term stems from restaurant dining etiquette in the Western world, where each person pays for their meal. It is also called Dutch date, a Dutch treat, and doing Dutch. Well, why is this important? One of the things that I recalled when thinking about this, when seeing my mother and my auntie last week, I've told you all that that I received my PhD from the University of Michigan, and I was in a tumultuous relationship when I was there, and I almost washed out of my program because I didn't know how to get out of that situation, and it was a very, very chaotic situation. But when you're pursuing your PhD, at least at that time, you don't have a lot of money. You just don't. You're in there to sharpen your skills, to do something later. So that's the key. You're there to sharpen your skills. That's why you're there. You're not there to wine and dine. You're not there to be someone's Superman. You're not there to be someone's financial savior. You're not there to be someone's provider. And as a student, as a male student, you need to kind of understand that. And that's one of the things I agree with the image guy on, is that maybe in a man's 20s, he should focus on just learning his craft, sharpening his craft, and getting his money up. But my plus one at that time, and she was an attractive woman. She enjoyed watching Sex in the City. And there were some other issues with that, but one of the things we went back and forth about, and around and around and around in circles about, was going Dutch on dates, because I think my stipend at that time was about 22,000. Your graduate school stipend as the doctoral candidate was not meant for you to live comfortably. It was meant to sustain you as you learned your craft and sharpened your craft. So if you were dating someone at that time, you needed to either have someone who was in school with you, or someone who was out of school who understood your situation, or who loved you enough to work with you. So we would go around and around and around in circles about going Dutch, because as she would tell me at times, going Dutch is so not sexy. Okay, I'll say that again. Going Dutch is so not sexy. I don't want to go Dutch. And at that time, I didn't understand. Okay, well, me and this person have hit an impasse. We've hit a something we can't get beyond. She has firm ideas about what she should be getting. She knows I'm a student, but she has firm ideas about what she should be getting. my current situation is unacceptable for her. So maybe I should just get out of here. But the point I'm trying to make is that from where I came from, the women in my family basically stated that was okay, that was acceptable. And then when I got out into the world, I started to see that it was a much different thing. It was a much different ball game. There were a lot of ladies. This is not to demonize anyone. It's just saying what is. Going Dutch was a bit of an insult. Going Dutch was unacceptable. It was like a curse word. And I don't know if that has something to do with the conditions my mother and her sister grew up in. I've told you all that I come from very, very humble beginnings, but there was a mentality difference there. And one of the things I've talked about on my channel, and one of the things content creators like Ron Wills and BGS have talked about in their content, is being aware of social class. These things matter. People don't like to talk about that, but when you're ascending and you're going into certain circles and you're going out into the world, there are societal norms, and there are expected behaviors, and there are expected customs. And it's just something to be aware of. Something else, Richard Cooper. I see Alonzo's right there in the chat. What's going on, Alonzo? I see you were on earlier. I'm just rambling a little bit here. This is just a little confessional, as they said on MTV's The Real World 30 years ago. This is just a confessional and a reflection. But if you go and listen to Richard Cooper's live stream with Robert Kiyosaki, I would encourage listening to it. They say some very interesting things there. One of the things Richard points out that I've learned is that you have to understand when you've gotten to the boundaries of knowledge of someone. I'm thinking in this instance, my parents and their peers. You have to understand when you've gotten to the edges of what they know, and then you have to go out and get other information for yourself. Because number one, not everybody knows everything. And, a person can only teach you what they know. They can't teach you anything else. So if a person is an employee, if all they know is punching a clock, me and VGS talked about that in our discussion about the Prussian education system. If a person only knows that, they can't tell you much about being an entrepreneur. They can't tell you much about starting your own enterprise. If a person has an employee's mindset, they can't tell you about becoming a real estate investor. Those kinds of things. That's what I'm getting at with this. If a person hasn't gone to college, can they advise you? They might be able to encourage you to go in there. Can they advise you on what to do once you get in there? If a person is going to college and they haven't pursued a blue collar trade, can they really tell you what happens inside, or what happens when you pursue a blue collar trade? So the point is that you have to kind of know in your mind and figure out when you've been following someone's advice and following someone's wisdom. You have to understand when you've gotten to the edges of their knowledge, and then you have to go out and find the answers you need from someone else. I'm going to finish this up by saying that things have changed. The conversations on YouTube, particularly in the manosphere spaces, make a lot of people uncomfortable. And I know that the tone and the rhetoric starts to sound angry for people But things have changed. And for the first time last week at our family gathering, I heard and guys, this is not to demonize anyone. It's just saying what is, and it's just reporting on what happened. And I overheard my mom tell another relative that I'll just say the mentality of many of today's um, women slash females is much different than what it was years ago. And I think I don't know in what context she was saying that, um, but she did say that. I did overhear that, and we did to sit down and have some hard conversations about certain topics before we parted ways. But she did note that, and I think that's I'm not trying to say anything bad about anyone, but society has changed. The world has changed. It's not the way that it was 30 to 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And thus you can't always expect the same outcomes once you've changed the environment, once you've changed culture, once you've changed societal norms and gender roles. And once you've changed critical laws in society, once you change certain things, you're going to start to change the outcomes as well. So that's I'm a little over 30 minutes here, guys. I didn't intend for this to be a, you know, 3 to 4 hour long stream. I want to get out and go to the Buffalo Bills, go to a Buffalo Bills game watch. I haven't seen the chat move. I saw people come in and out. I was rambling a little bit, but does anyone want to come up before I shut this down and say something? If you're watching this and you want to say yes, I'll drop the link. You can come up and say something. If not, then I'll shut this down and go get in the shower and get ready to go to this Buffalo Bills game watch. Let me see. Yeah, my likes are in double digits. That's a good thing. So anyone, I saw Alonzo. Yeah, I saw Alonzo here. I'm gonna read this comment by. Well, I'll start with Diaspora L. He says the key to using Wiki. Excuse me. The key to using Wiki is the reference bibliography / index section. Let's see. Raheem Gaines says, I've gone back and forth about going Dutch on dates. That being said, it's best that I pay for the dates, specifically the first 2 dates at least. Yeah, Raheem Gaines, I always tried to do 3 to 4. But at some point, once you do that, well, you start to question, especially in today's era, oh, what's the other person going to do if this is going to keep going? What's the other person going to do? So that and that's it's a controversial thing. It's a little known thing, but the concept of going Dutch for some ladies, that's a curse word. Let's see. Giagami says salute to Toya the tutor. Toya, you know what? I was a tutor at one point myself. That was a hustle I used to raise some extra money for my to get out of debt. If you're still tutoring, maybe at some point we could talk about tutoring. We could have a discussion just on that, because I did that. I tutored in general chemistry, AP and IB chemistry, and physics. Chemistry was my top course. But maybe we could talk about that sometime. I've been noticing that's in your name. Let's see. Alonzo says salute. MLR says, greetings, Dr. Dunbar. I've been watching from the clouds. Aquatechy, thank you for the generous $5 super chat. This isn't one of the blockbuster BGS streams, so if that's very nice of you to donate. Let's see. Diaspora L says, somebody get on the panel with the doctor. I don't know if that means that you're tired of hearing me just talk for myself, or someone else should add something to this. But MLR says, get out there and enjoy your Buffalo Bills game. Yeah, I'm going to go soon. Toya says 100. I don't know if that was to get out and enjoy the Bills game. Toya says, I bet you were great at it. You know what, Toya? Tutoring was fun. I think I am a natural coach and a natural teacher. I don't know that I would enjoy being a teacher full-time like my dad was in a classroom, but in addition to being compensated for it, I did enjoy coaching those kids up to the point where they were getting A's and B's in AP and IB chemistry. It was fun. Coaching is fun. Let's see. She says, I'd love to, or even just words. Okay, yeah, we should do that sometime. Tutoring, because the whole reason I thought of tutoring, and one of the reasons I came to YouTube is I had to think to myself, okay, what do I already know that I can start getting paid off of? And then one day I said, okay, well, I was pretty good at general chemistry in college. I can tutor that. I can teach that. So yeah, let's do that sometime. Let's see. Alonzo says, I'd come up, but I'm getting ready for moms. Yep. Go for it. Yep. Yeah, Diaspora L. Yeah. AP chemistry. You learn the general concepts, the periodic table, and then you get into, the Bohr model, geez, I can't think of the other ones. There's the Bohr model, Niels Bohr, the Planck model. You start learning about the atom, the protons, the neutrons, where the electrons reside. You start learning about the periodic table, the trends of the periodic table, and then the rest of it, you jump into the calculations, but you can't do the calculations unless you understand the periodic table. So it's a fun class. Most of the math is algebra. You're not doing calculus at that point. So it's just understanding the periodic table and which calculations you need to do. I enjoy the mole, the stoichiometry, the solutions, the gas laws. I enjoyed all that stuff once I understood it myself. Alonzo says, and those Bills control the AFC. They are the truth over the last few years. Diaspora L says, the Bills got the it factor. Well, they didn't show it. Well, they kind of showed it against Tennessee. And the Bills just might have been tired at that point. But I expect them to come out and smack the Dolphins today. So, well, guys, this was just here to be a really quick personal vlog / ramble / confessional / reflection. I'm a writer / storyteller, so that's what I do. Look out for my newsletter. I am pretty close to having that done, so that will be sent out once a month, and it will be to just consolidate all of my content and to keep people up to date on what I'm doing. So look out for that. Look out in the community chat, and look out in my streams for that. What I said during this was not meant to demonize anyone. It was not meant to talk bad about anyone, but society has changed, culture has changed, the world has changed. And then the question is, when those things change, should we expect the outcomes to be the same as what they were several years ago? So, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and run. It's going to be a nice little drive out to where the game watch is. And whatever you choose to do with the rest of your Sunday, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you're rooting for a team, I hope your team wins, unless you're the Miami Dolphins. So please like, share, and subscribe if you're watching this on the playback. My Cash App and PayPal are in the description box below this stream. Oh, by the way, I'm planning on doing a stream on Thursday with another gentleman named Willie Price Speaks. He has a program for boys, and I think his thing is right brain learning. So I have to set all that up and send him questions, but we're planning to do that on Thursday. So, hey guys, thank you for your support. Thank you for those of you who hung in here and watched me just talk a little bit. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Thank you again to Aquateki for the super chat. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.